Nun wissen wir alle.
Now, we all know, I have no illusions about it, and by this week at the latest, no one should have any illusions about how profound and far-reaching the challenges we face are. We are now in the third year of a recession, and we must get out of this recession. Dear friends, I say this quite self-critically, this task is greater than some might have imagined a year or so ago. We are not only in a cyclical downturn. We are in a structural crisis of our economy. At the moment, we are not keeping pace with developments in the world. We are no longer the leading industrial nation that the world looks to. We are a country that has a structural growth weakness. We are no longer truly competitive in large parts of our economy. And this is a matter of price competitiveness. The quality is still there. The people, the companies, the management of the companies see this task. But the framework conditions we have for this in Germany have simply been for years, and not just for 3 or 4, but actually for an entire decade, and they are not good enough anymore. The productivity of our economy has been lagging behind international standards for 10 years. And we need to change that. These location conditions must become competitive again. It is also true that we have changed things in migration policy. Economic policy and migration policy are the two issues that concern the people in our country. And rightly so. In migration policy, we have committed to setting a new course from day one. And we did it on the first day. Alexander Dobrindt, the new Federal Minister of the Interior, on the first day in office, instructed the federal police to tighten controls at Germany's borders. And now, don't let yourselves be confused by numbers, the wrong numbers. The fact that perhaps only 500 or 600 rejections have occurred is not crucial. What is crucial is the political signal that the Federal Republic of Germany has turned off the magnet, that one only has to come to Germany, and once here, can stay permanently. That has been the crucial point. We are currently at the lowest level of asylum applications since 2013. So we have basically fundamentally corrected what went wrong in the last 10 years. The number of initial applications has decreased from over 140,000 last year to now 70,000 in the first half of 2025. And I tell you, that is still too many. 15% tariffs are truly no help for the German economy. But to enter a really deep trade conflict, a trade war with the United States of America, that could have led to an even much worse outcome. Now we at least have a somewhat manageable agreement with the Americans. But what is the conclusion from this? The conclusion is important from my point of view in two respects. First, we as the European Union need to become stronger, more confident, and more independent. We are too dependent on Russian gas and oil. We have been too dependent on America for our security.
Das ist das Entscheidende gewesen.
And we are too dependent in our economy, for example, on countries like China. The only possible consequence is that we are now working very hard to become more independent in terms of economic policy, trade policy, and security policy, and to ensure that we are taken seriously in this world and do not become a pawn but rather a player ourselves in the world. That must be the goal we need to achieve together now. And look at what we did at the NATO summit in The Hague. We even changed the basic law between the two governments and enabled the largest defense expenditures we have ever had in the history of the Federal Republic of Germany in that amount now. We must also become the party that unequivocally says yes to the Bundeswehr, federal defense, and maintains personal contact with the soldiers. No institution, there is no second institution in Germany that deserves gratitude as much as the Bundeswehr does. I would like you to also participate in showing that we are also a party that is particularly concerned with defense and cares for the soldiers in Germany. If we are serious about what we say to Israel, then our children, our grandchildren must know what happened in Germany 80 years ago. Only then will there be another generation that accepts the mission, like us, to stand up for Israel's security. By the way, allow me this, because there have been some discussions on this topic. Solidarity with Israel does not mean unconditionally saying yes to everything the current government in Israel decides. And I have made a decision. And I have made a decision regarding arms deliveries in a specific case. In other cases, we are doing much more than before. But in this specific case, Germany will not participate, either directly or indirectly, in a process that is now almost universally considered outside of Israel as a violation of international law.
Das wir jetzt gemeinsam erreichen müssen.
Dear friends, we face great challenges, and the greatest challenge on our continent will be the restoration of peace in Ukraine. I say quite consciously on our continent, because it is not a country that lies far away somewhere. After Russia, it is the second largest European country by area on this European continent, and I deliberately count Russia as a European country. Russia is a profoundly European country in culture, literature, music. The whole country is shaped by European culture. But Ukraine is the second largest by area, the second largest European country. And that's why we are so involved there, because it is in our own interest. I want us to achieve it with everything we have at our disposal in terms of strength, resources, and opportunities, so that peace and freedom in this country are restored. Yes, we have taken the first steps, but let me put it in a metaphor. We are on a 10-kilometer course and have perhaps covered the first 200 meters. That's all it is. But we are at least heading in the right direction. And please, no one should tell me today that we are only discussing arms deliveries and more weapons.
Die den Auftrag annimmt, so wie wir.
No, ladies and gentlemen, greater diplomatic efforts than in the last 3 weeks have not been made in this conflict and in this war yet by any German federal government nor by any European Union, as we have undertaken in the last 3 weeks. But when you see and hear what the Russian president has said about it in the last few hours, it becomes clear to everyone how difficult this task remains for weeks and perhaps for months. But we must have a common interest in restoring peace in this country, in reinstating a political order on this European continent that can rightfully be called an order of peace and freedom. Let us not deceive ourselves. The time when the whole world is governed by rules, by international law, by treaties, by memorandums, by agreements, this begins with the World Trade Organization and does not end with the major treaties we made after the collapse of the GDR and Russia, the Soviet Union. Those times are over. The wind is blowing rather harshly and from many different directions at once. In trade policy as well as in the politics of freedom and peace, in all our efforts for freedom and peace.
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest news makers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the U.S. will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.